By the time I finished the last DLC in Marvel's PS4 Spiderman, I felt exhausted. I had nearly 100%ed the base game and thought the DLC would add a couple of sprinkles on top to finish this wonderful but gigantic cake, only to be met with several additional layers that were impossible for me to stomach. This is not to say I didn't enjoy the game and thought it was praiseworthy, but there's only so much cake I can have before I can't eat anymore. And while I had it in me to finish the stories of the DLC, there was absolutely no way I was going to finish each one's collectibles and challenges. This really got me questioning whether Insomniac handled these elements well, and while I thought this was the case at first, the cracks in the armor became more numerous as time went on. Before I begin though, I want to mention some things I like about PS4's Spider-Man's collectibles and challenges before I go into what I don't like. Insomniac did a decent job at providing some variety to what you're collecting and the challenges you face. In terms of challenges, Harry's research stations all had you doing a different kind of task in order to get their research tokens. This ranged from depolluting the city's air to preventing a block of flat air conditioning from exploding. Each research station was interesting and had me moderately engaged in what was going on. Collecting the backpacks was also pretty okay, as they had a unique collectible item with a voiceover from Peter on what the item was and what he thought about it. It's a nice detail and shows the developer's dedication to going the extra mile. Heck, they provided this in almost every single aspect of the challenges you complete and the things you're collecting. But while going the extra mile can be a plus, going another 50 can be too much. And this is essentially much of the basis for why I ended up not liking the collectibles towards the end. I do have to make somewhat of a distinction between the base game and the 3 DLCs with this topic, because I was nearly able to 100% the base game, though this does not exempt it from the fact that there are way too many different kinds of collectible. The base game's collectibles and challenges are quite heavy-handed, and as you progress, it seems like the additions are never-ending, making the task of completing them all feel daunting. Even for a hardcore gamer like myself, who collected practically everything in Elden Ring, every time I saw a new collectible and challenge being added to the cacophony of map markers already present on my screen, it became increasingly demoralizing fast. This was especially the case for the secret photo ops, which I opted not to complete. The reason I pointed out the distinction between the DLC and the base game, though, is because this issue isn't as bad in the base game. As you're completing different challenges and collecting things, you end up accumulating a sizable amount of tokens to unlock new suits, most of which have a new suit power you can play around with. It kept me veritably invested in unlocking new suits, and so therefore kept me a bit motivated. Though at times it became difficult to stay motivated, considering some of the challenges were not a lot of fun. Trying to precisely control your web swinging in the traversal challenges and maintain a high combo counter in the combat challenges is way tougher than it looks. Additionally, outposts and strongholds got old pretty quickly, as it's just waves of enemies pouring in with a couple of challenges for you to do. Yeah, these challenges are different for each stronghold, but the combat doesn't drastically change, nor the objectives between them. It was also a shame to see that the completionist rewards in the game were not that great either, which likely contributed to why I didn't 100% the base game. Most of the suits you get for completing everything are purely cosmetic, with no cool new suit powers to experiment with, making it feel pretty anticlimactic when you finish everything. Despite these gripes, the base game's collectibles and challenges provide a relatively fulfilling experience, and you can see the effort and passion oozing out of what Insomniac provided with the base game alone. However, quantity does not always correlate with quality, and this aptly describes the collectibles and challenges within the 3 DLCs. When going into these, I expected they'd just add 1 or 2 extra challenges or collectibles that did not require too much of the player. Man, was I wrong. Collectible after challenge was introduced in these DLCs. When I saw this, my motivation to do these nosedived into the floor, and I only did the challenges necessary to progress the DLC story. I'm thankful I spared myself the hassle because these challenges are awful. The screwball challenges are repetitive and not fun in the slightest.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!
Okay, since last time, I modified the Trojan she installed to ping her location
No!
instead of one of her shows.
Not
Once I get enough pings, I can triangulate, find her hideout, and send her on early hiatus. Straight to Rikers.
Not more! More strongholds get added to the map, and loads more collectibles pop up for you to gather. To add insult to injury, if you want to unlock the third and final suit for each DLC, you have to do every single one of those added challenges and collect all the collectibles, and they don't even have any new suit powers. All of the DLC suits are purely cosmetic, which was the final nail in the coffin for my motivation to unlock them. The only other more personalised gripe I had was that every single collectible and challenge is put on your map immediately after finding the first one. I can understand the counterpoint of the map being absolutely massive and map markers being mandatory in a dense city like New York, though Miles Morales, the sequel to this game, managed to improve this somewhat with the map markers revealing only the general area of the collectible. A case could be made that Elden Ring managed to pull off having no map markers at all for collectibles, and that map was huge. Having there be markers for everything diminishes any sense of achievement through discoverability. Admittedly, it is difficult when you're dealing with such a large playable area, so I will say that Miles Morales did it better, and perhaps it could be improved further still in the second game. But how, exactly? Well, the first way would be to have them not show up on the main map until you complete the game. Understandably, this may sound like a bold and stupid suggestion until you remember their Spidey sense. Collectibles only being revealed through Spidey sense would make trying to find them more interesting, rather than their exact precise location being pinpointed at all times. Or have them all hidden, then towards the end of the game you can unlock something akin to Ratchet & Clank's Map-O-Matic, which reveals all challenges and collectibles' general location within the map. Something to make their discoverability more enjoyable rather than it seeming like a chore checklist. There also needs to be a gradual escalation in the rewards you get for completing everything. Simply getting a cosmetic suit with no overpowered suit ability left me deflated and disappointed in the end. There needs to be consistent rewards for earning these suits that changes the dynamic of the game you're experiencing. They could even lock secret gadgets and skills behind completing challenges like they did in Miles Morales. I'm starting to realise Miles just did everything this game did, but slightly better. Except for the challenges. The challenges in Miles Morales were infuriating. The traversal challenges were the worst offenders. Every single gold medal time was only achievable if you were absolutely perfect and got to the end goal within a fraction of a second of the best time. They need to maintain a consistent variety in these challenges in the same way that they did with Harry's research labs, and perhaps add differing objectives to the hideouts to keep them more interesting. In any case, it's just good to give Insomniac a nudge in the right direction, as their handling of the Spider-Man games has been very good, but not quite phenomenal. Some people may even see absolutely nothing wrong with how they handled collectibles and challenges, which is why I want to know what you think too. Let me know down in the comments what you enjoyed about Marvel's Spider-Man games, and even what you didn't like. I want to shout out my patron Giggles for being an absolute unit with his support, and hopefully I'll be able to shout out more people soon too. Liking and sharing the video also helps me out tremendously, and if you hit that subscribe button, then I will likely see you in the next video. Hasta la vista, baby.
Hasta la vista, baby. Hasta la vista, baby. Hasta la vista, baby.